Hi, I'm Greg Hunter. Welcome to USAWatchdog.com. Well, there's a bit of a different interview. You know, Donald Trump went overseas and he saw the Pope. And one of the things the Pope did was make a very hard sell for him to stay in the Paris Climate Accord, which is, you know, the deal where the United States pays, we lose our jobs, and meanwhile India and China get to pollute till the year 3030, pollute all they want. The writer of this book is George Neumayr, and it's called The Political Pope. It is a fascinating book. You're seeing the Pope more and more in the news. Let me bring on George right now. He has stopped in his busy day. It's giving me an interview on the fly. George, thank you so much for joining us today on USAWatchdog.com.
Sure, thanks for having me.
Well, George, I just wanted to start out. I'm a former Catholic, but still a Christian. And most people don't really realize that, you know, Catholicism has lasted 2,000 years because of the, you know, five major pillars of Catholicism. Are really the five major pillars of Christianity? Christ was a deity. He was the Son of God. He was born of the Virgin Mary. That's number two. Number three, he had a blood sacrifice on the cross. Number four, he rose again on the third day. And number five, he's yet to come up, and that is that he'll come again to judge the living and the dead. That is the Catholic doctrine. That is their five pillars of the Catholic faith. But with the Pope, not so much. I mean, he has said things like, you know, atheists can go to heaven by doing good deeds. He has said having a relationship with Christ outside the church is dangerous. You know, that Christ's death on the cross was really a failure, humanely speaking, or speaking of humanity. I mean, unbelievable. So what is going on with this? First of all, tell us about your Pope. He's getting more criticism from Catholics than anywhere else. And you are a Catholic, so tell me about this Pope.
Yeah, well, the irony with this Pope is that he doesn't particularly like Catholics. He views particularly devout Catholics with a certain amount of disdain. And that's why the left likes him so much, is that he sees Catholics in the same way that they do, which is they see them as rigid and pharisaical. And he's used those same terms to describe them. And so in many ways, he's adopting some of the anti-Catholic invective that is popular on the fashionable left, which has for many decades been very anti-Catholic. But with a Pope on the chair of St. Peter, who is criticizing Catholics and saying the Catholics are too conservative and making relativistic remarks like, "Who am I to judge?" The media is eating up this pontificate.
He has said that that having a relationship outside the with Christ outside the Catholic Church is dangerous. He said that you know, gays can go to heaven. He says that atheists can go to heaven just by doing good deeds. What's up with this big change with him?
I call him. Yeah, I would call him in some ways a post-Christian Pope, in that he's using relativistic language and the language of religious relativism in an age that is becoming less and less Christian, and is becoming more and more focused on humanism and not on God, more on man and man's political schemes, and most of which are left-wing political schemes, which this Pope is endorsing. So in some ways, he is a post-Christian Pope.
Well, I know that you say in your book, you know, right on the cover, that many Catholics think that he's the worst Pope ever. And does that just fall into line with his leftist thinking, that really Catholicism is really, as Reagan said, that people of Mexicans, which are mostly Catholic, are really Republican, they're conservative. Is he the worst Pope because he's so liberal?
Yeah, well, he's the most unusual Pope in terms of teaching the faith, because he is seemingly so opposed to Orthodox Catholic doctrine. And that was particularly evident at the Synod on the Family, where he appeared to endorse a proposal that would allow Catholics in a state of adultery to receive communion.
Does that, and when you talk about the Pope, he is kind of a communist. I've heard that basically the Jesuits, at least part of the Jesuits, are really have been infiltrated by the communists. Is he really just, forget the liberal tag, isn't he just really a communist? And communists are basically atheists, are they not?
Well, he certainly was influenced by the socialism and communism in Argentina, where he grew up. And there's no question that the socialism of Juan Perón and the liberation theology of Latin America, which was tinged with a lot of communism, had an influence on his thinking. And as I describe in the book, he had, by his own admission, a communist mentor in Buenos Aires. His boss at a laboratory was a Paraguayan communist, and she introduced him, again, by his own admission, to communist literature and to a lot of the thinking of Karl Marx. And he has credited her with being one of the big influences on his political education. And so your listeners and your viewers could check out the first chapter of the book and read about this Pope's communist mentor. In some ways, it's a parallel to Barack Obama, because Barack Obama also had a communist mentor in Franklin Marshall Davis. And so in some ways, you know, there's parallels between Obama and Pope Francis. Pope Francis is sort of the Barack Obama of the Catholic Church.
You know, I wanted to bring up this whole climate change thing, because it certainly isn't about climate change. You have America lose their jobs and pay billions of dollars, trillions of dollars, and lost GDP and payments. And then you have India and China that can not only keep on polluting till the year 2030, but they can increase their pollution and build all kinds of coal-fired plants and whatever they want. And, you know, that won't be clean coal. So what's up with the climate change thing? Is that really part of the New World Order that the Pope apparently is trying to usher in?
Yeah, there's no question that this Pope is committed to the climate change activism of the United Nations and the global left. In many ways, the Vatican has become almost like an annex of the Sierra Club and Greenpeace. And so, yes, this Pope is using his office to promote theories of environmentalism, which are embraced by the far left, but which are not, in fact, supported by actual Catholic teaching. And so in that way, he's engaging in what I would call blatant left-wing clericalism. He's using his office not to promote the actual teachings of the Church, but to promote his own personal political opinions. And one of the primary ones is that the world should embrace climate change activism, and the United Nations should be able to impose that agenda on all the countries of the world.
Isn't that more or less a new world order, new world government, that kind of thing? Isn't that what that is, in your estimation?
Yeah,
what really the Pope is trying to do?
Yeah, if you read his encyclical on the environment, Laudato Si', there is a section on world government and how the United Nations should have the power to compel countries to adopt these climate change regulatory norms. And there have been a number of Vatican officials around this Pope who have endorsed the concept of world government, including Margaret Archer, who heads up the Pontifical Academy for Social Sciences.
And do you think that his embracing of the Quran is and the Quran, and listen, if they want to deny Christ, the Muslims, that's fine. That's fine with me. But he is supposed to be the vicar of Christ, the Pope. He's supposed to be Christ's representative. And to embrace the Quran, where they render Jesus as nothing more than a lowly prophet or a messenger and not the Son of God, is pretty outrageous to me. Why do you think he is basically embracing the Quran? Is that for a one-world religion, one-world government type setup? Do you think that's what that really is all about?
Yeah, that's a very unusual element within this pontificate, because yes, he is. It's almost like he's promoting every religion except his own, and one of the religions that he's doing the most to promote is Islam. And yes, he's repeatedly called Islam a religion of peace, even as its militant branches grow stronger. He's commended the reading of the Quran. He's made numerous apologies for these after eruptions of Islamic terrorism. So it's very odd that, because Islam is the historic adversary of the Church, and so you wouldn't expect a Catholic Pope to be sounding like a spokesman for CAIR, but that is pretty much what he sounds like. It almost sounds like he's an apologist and a spokesman for Islam, rather than a spokesman for the religion that usually stood against Islam and drew people's attention to the violent character of that religion.
Do you think that if you, in your estimation, I know that you get into very granular things about the political pope, but to me, it just looks like, with your comments about how he's criticized the most, and I've seen this, Jack Van Impe has said that the most criticism that this pope has gotten is from inside the Catholic Church. As you are a Catholic, a devout Catholic, and that he's gotten a lot of grief for it. Do you think he's getting grief because people are seeing through what he's doing, embracing a one-world religion, a one-world government? He is not saving souls. As you said in your book, he's really worried about saving the planet. I mean, that's what he's supposed to be doing, is getting people to heaven, not getting people out on a beautiful green pasture in a lake house somewhere, right? Do you think he's embracing one-world government? So my question is...
Yeah, the intensity of the...
Go ahead.
The intensity of the backlash is due to the unusually aggressive political left-wing dilettantism, I would say, of this pope, that he is using his office to impose his personal political views on Catholics, and that's having a tremendously divisive effect on the church. It's dividing Catholics. And instead of uniting Catholics around orthodoxy, he is instead dividing them on issues of on contested political issues, and he's also dividing them on fundamental theological matters such as the question of divorce and remarriage. He has taken the very liberal position on that question, and that too has divided Catholics from Catholic tradition.
So do you think that he is really working his office to have a one world religion, a one world government, in your estimation? Do you think that's what this is all pointing towards?
Yeah, I would say that he is in some ways, he is trying to turn the Catholic Church into an appendage of the United Nations.
And you think that is so he can meld Catholicism into every other religion, into Islam. Islam's not going to negotiate. Islam isn't going to negotiate. We've also had... Go ahead.
I think the bottom line is that for this pope, playing politics and promoting socialism and promoting leftism in general, that's much more important to him than the preservation of Catholic tradition. He would rather save the world, quote unquote, than save souls.
And that is what his job is. He is supposed to be the savior of souls. I mean, I was stunned when he came out and said atheists can go to heaven if they do good works. I mean, that is polar opposite, red letter stuff in the Bible from Jesus Christ saying, I'm it. Nobody goes to the Father without going through me, right?
That's right. He goes around, one of the most common refrains of this pontificate is, he says, I don't want to convert you. And as somebody pointed out, that's a very strange, that might make you qualified to have a show on MSNBC or CNN, but it doesn't qualify you to be the head of the Catholic Church.
Listen, thanks for stopping in your busy day and doing this on the fly with your laptop. Appreciate it. That's what all the sound in the background is. But thank you for stopping and doing it. I just want to plug your book. It is The Political Pope. It's fascinating. It's a nice, big, nice, meaty, thick book. Lots of research in it. Really good book, George. I mean, it's really, and I don't think anybody's ever written anything about Pope Francis. You're one of the first. I'm sure other people have written, but nothing like this. I mean, this really airs out a lot of facts and a lot of things where he's on record, in writing, wanting to have one world government. Apparently, he wants to have one world religion. George, thank you so much for joining us today on USAWatchdog.com.
You're welcome. Thanks for having me.